Aggregate demand, yeah. So when we talk about aggregate demand, the characteristic of aggregate demand. So, but before going to the characteristic of aggregate demand, what is demand itself? Demand is the quantity of goods individuals are willing to buy at a given price and time. That is what demand is, right? Then we talk about aggregate demand. It's simply the total demand or expenditure within a given economy. The total demand within an economy. Demand is the same as expenditure, the total spending within an economy. That is aggregate demand. It's a clear place.
Yes.
So that takes us to national expenditure. I wrote national expenditure it is made up of 4 components, and it is one of the 3 ways of calculating national income. So we have our national expenditure, which is our consumption, investment, government spending, export minus imports. All these involves buying. So consumption for consumers, investment for buying with consumer firms buying equipment or capital goods, government spending, aside transfer payment, which is a payment which is government flow of money that does not have any equivalent output. That is transfer payment. Take care. That's transfer payment. We don't count it as government spending, like unemployment benefit. It's not part of government spending. Then because it's still going to be part of consumption, so you don't put it into 2 together. Do you get my point or not? Okay. Then export minus import, I talked about that already. So we start. So for our aggregate demand, or the formula for aggregate demand or national expenditure is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. I think the point is clear there.
Yes.
Okay. So that takes us to what C stands for: consumption. This is spending by households on goods and services. What we buy. Consumption. Investment. These are firms investing in capital goods, factory, machinery, equipment. Then government spending. These are wages paid to workers, salaries paid to workers. Investment in capital goods, new roads, new schools, new hospitals. These are all government spending. I think it's clear. Any question about that? Okay, great. So you can have that. Then that takes us to the aggregate demand curve. Are you there? So the aggregate demand curve I wrote, it shows the relationship between the price level and the level of real expenditure in the economy. So when I talk about the price level simply means the average level of price within the economy. The average level of price within the economy, the total. So note, to get our price, there's always going to be price changes every now and then. That's why we have the CPI, Consumer Price Index. It tells us changes in price over time. And as soon as we know changes in price over time, it leads us to knowing that there's inflation in the economy or there's no inflation. I think the point is clear there, right? Great. So, the demand curve. So the demand curve I wrote here. The demand curves are nearly always downward sloping. Why is aggregate demand curve the same shape with demand curve? The answer is that the higher the price level in the economy, the less they can afford to buy. So it's always downward slope because the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. The lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So that's why it's downward slope. If the price is increasing, the quantity demanded reduces. If the price is falling, the quantity demanded increases. There's always inverse relationship. So we can graphically represent that as this. This is a graph. So this is an aggregate demand curve graph. So as income level falls as price increases from P1 to P2, the level of income available for households will reduce from Y1 to Y2. So that means the quantity demanded will contract. This is about movement along the demand curve for price. Are you with me, please?
Yes.
Okay. So I wrote, a rise in the price level from P1 to P2 will reduce the income available to buy goods or services. Therefore, the AD will contract from Y1 to Y2 and vice versa. So if price level falls from P2 to P1, the income level will increase. That means what is available for household to spend on the same quantity of goods, they will spend less on the same quantity of goods if price falls. So that will increase the income level from Y2 to Y1. Is it clear?
Yes.
Great. So what are the ways in which price level changes affect the components of expenditure? What are the components of expenditure? We have consumption, investment, government spending, export minus imports. These are all components of expenditure. Put that in mind, please. So how will changes in the price level affect these components? So that means changes in price level will bring about contraction or expansion. So we're going to start with consumption first. So for consumption, I wrote, consumption expenditure is influenced by the rate of interest in the economy. When prices increases, consumers and firms need more money to buy the same quantity of goods and services as before. This means they might have to borrow more money. However, if there's fixed supply of money available in financial institutions, then the price of borrowing will increase. So, consumption. Consumption is influenced by the rate of interest. So if consumption is going to change, interest rate has to change. So if interest rate increases, if interest rate increases in the economy, it means whatever I need to buy, I need more money to buy. I need to borrow more to buy whatever I used to buy before. Do you get it? So to borrow more money means if the money is not available in financial institutions, because the financial institutions might have a fixed money supply, so they can't exceed it. If they cannot exceed it, it means demand for money would increase more than the supply of money. So if the demand for money increases more than supply of money, it means the rate of interest rate will increase also. So that's the point they are making here. So borrowing will increase. Do you get it?
Yes.
Any question about that?
No.
So a rise in interest rate will lead to a fall in consumption, because interest rate is increasing, price of borrowing has increased. So that will bring about contraction in the aggregate demand curve, because borrowing has increased, spending would fall. People will not have much to spend as they used to spend. That is about consumption. Do you get it? Another point about consumption that was not written here is about the wealth effect. They say another way rise in the price level affects consumption. That's the last paragraph there. Are you reading it? Another way a rise in the price level affects consumption is through the wealth effect. A rise in price level leads to the real value of individual consumer wealth being lower, because a rise in the price level means, so before now, I have 10,000 with me as at now. So tomorrow, the price of goods has increased to what the 10,000 could buy tomorrow has increased. So that means the amount of money available with me is worthless. Do you get the point here? What the 10,000 would buy today will not be able to buy it tomorrow because there's a change in price level. That is the point I'm making there. Is it clear? Yes. So that's all about consumption. Then we'll go to another factor here, which is investment. Are you there? For investment, we're talking about spending on capital goods. So when you think about aggregate demand, it does not only affect consumers, it affects firms too, because firms they buy equipment, they buy machinery. So the demand for equipment, the demand for machinery too. You get the point there? So a rise in price, assuming other factors are equal, ceteris paribus, leads to a rise in interest rates in the economy. Investment is affected by changes in the interest rate. The higher the interest rate, the lower the profit made on investment carried out through borrowing. This in turn reduces the level of investment. If interest rate is also affected, can also have impact on investment. If interest rate is increasing, the price of borrowing for firms would increase. And if the price for borrowing for firms increases, it means whatever investment they do with borrowing would have lower profits. So that reduces investment. So the aggregate demand will contract at that point in time. Is it clear?
Yes.
Then the next one is government spending, which is another component in the national expenditure. For government it's government, so it is independent in terms of spending. Government will spend, but you have to take note of transfer payment, which is not part of government spending, because it's added up to the consumption, which is disposable income. So this is determined by the government of the day. So spending will be determined by if there's a new government today. So there's always political agenda. If government is spending, it's a political agenda. Government might choose to spend now because they are seeking for re-election next year. So they want consumers to have more money right now available to them. So maybe that's why they are spending. So it's always political agenda. So it is independent. I think the point is clear. So if aggregate demand is going to increase, government spending would increase. If aggregate demand is going to fall, government spending would fall. But it depends on what the government agenda is at that point in time. It's not about interest rates or other factors. Clear?
Yes.
And the last one is about exports and imports. We're still talking about movement along the demand curve, or aggregate demand curve. For export and income, a higher price level within an economy means that foreign firms will be able to compete more successfully. Export will reduce and import may increase. So the point about export and import is this. A higher price within the economy means prices within the economy is increasing. So export prices would rise. The country will not be internationally competitive. But imports will increase because foreign firms will be able to sell. Do you understand? So import is expected to increase more than export. So the aggregate demand is expected to fall because it is export minus import. That is about aggregate demand. and the movement along the demand curve. Is it clear? So hence, aggregate demand falls as price rises. First, because increase in interest rates reduce consumption and investment and spend. And second, because the loss of international competitiveness of a new higher price will reduce exports and increase imports. So we have movement along the aggregate demand curve. If spending is falling or if price is falling or increasing. If price is falling, there will be if price is falling, there will be expansion. If price is reducing, there will be contraction. I think it's clear. Any question about movement along the aggregate demand curve?
No.
Thank you.